I think it's cultural. I think it's absolutely cultural. There's this poll that goes around, the study where they asked young people, what do you want to be when you grow up? And you believe it or not, some of these kids, well, first of all, in China, they said astronauts. What do you want to be when you grow up? They said astronauts. When they asked these American kids and kids in the UK, what do you want to be? These poor kids, they wanted the stupidest job on the planet, YouTuber. Did you believe someone being dumb enough to make a career out of being on YouTube?
That's Chris, the Canadian colonel.
I'm only half kidding.
Who's the astronaut? Chris, the Canadian colonel.
Yeah, he was making YouTube videos.
Yeah, he's a YouTuber and an astronaut.
No, I'm kidding. YouTube's a legit job, but I'm not. Being an influencer is more so what they said.
Don't you see what progress that represents, though?
It to an extent, but
beautiful.
What it needs to be is influencer or YouTuber comes second, right? So I got on YouTube because I started as a journalist at some of these companies. I was doing technology stuff. I was building drones. Then I started live streaming. Then I started working for Vice, then Fusion. From journalism, I'm like, this is an excellent medium to bring political commentary, news, and reporting. You mentioned the astronaut. He's an astronaut first. He's an influencer second. Mm-hmm. So these kids shouldn't want to be famous for the sake of being famous. They should strive to be something that develops culture and builds on culture. But a lot of them just want to be famous.
Yeah, I noticed this firsthand. I was a YouTuber in 2006-07, and the reason it was exciting to watch is because I was also an actor in Los Angeles. And so the YouTube was like a portal into my main life. As soon as I stopped doing that and didn't have a main life and all I was doing was relying on the videos, it became much less interesting. People stopped watching. And it's only when you're doing, I fully agree with what you're saying. Being an internet, YouTube, whatever, this is all supplement to what you're really doing with your life. And you can allow people to see it and become a part of it.
Inspire people to do more as well. Yes. So that's why I'm really adamant about making cultural stuff. So we're going to be filming a vlog with this BMX guy on Sunday who people mentioned in the super chat. He hit me up and I was like, dude, yes, we got a skate park here. Let's get someone on a BMX to do some crazy cool tricks. And we're going to start making more and more stuff to inspire people to do other stuff. The YouTube stuff is fantastic because then people can see what you're doing, be inspired by it. So to wrap this all back up into a nice little package, we've got people who are worried about losing their jobs. What we need is people who are going to start their own job instead of getting a job from somebody else. Too many young people, and going back to what I mentioned about young people saying, well, I can't find work, make work. What did I say I did? I went and played guitar in the subway. I didn't sit there and say the government should give me money. Actually, I did receive unemployment when I got fired. Don't get me wrong. I like that idea. But I said, well, I can't get a job. I can sit around and starve to death, or I can take my small little fiberglass. It's a Stratocaustic. I don't know if they make them anymore. And I was like, I'll go play some top 40s that I like singing in the subway in Chicago. Unfortunately, you need a permit to do it. So I had to go to the what was it, the Tompkins Center? I can't remember which, the Daily Center. I go to the Daily Center, fill out some form, and they gave me this laminate. It said like, okay, this person's allowed to play music in a subway. And then I would play like Oasis and CCR, and I was having fun. I would just put my gig bag out, and I would just start playing the guitar and singing and having fun with it because I like playing guitar and singing. And I would make like $15 an hour. And then I met someone who was like, you know where you make the real money? Wrigley Field. Go play outside of Wrigley. Oh, you'll make money.
Great
you know area. You know how much I started making outside of Wrigley when I was playing guitar?
$60 an hour.
$100 an hour. You know why? You wait until the game is over. You start playing some top 40s, and these drunk guys come out, and they're all singing with each other and like rocking back and forth, and they're just showering you with money, all drunk and happy. And I'm like, this is great. I found my own work. You know. Now, ultimately, it wasn't enough. It's not so easy to play 8 hours a day, and it's not necessarily marketable. But for a young guy in my 20s, I didn't sit around saying someone should give me money or why won't someone hire me. I said I'm going to find a way to make money. And so part of my philosophy has always been the simplest way to think about economics and jobs and resources is there's Ian. He's sitting across from me. He's holding a green piece of paper. I need to convince him to give me that green piece of paper without violence, without threats, following basic laws and rules, be persuasive, provide something of value to Ian. So, hey man, I made this, this little doll of you. Would you like to buy it? Yeah. Ian says, here, I'll give you my green paper. That's all you're really doing. You've got a universal trade medium. Can you convince someone to exchange that with you for something you can offer?
Well, you're making me think about the rent thing because when I was in LA, New York, and Chicago, I was so stressed every month. I worked as a waiter. I made $700 a week. I was so stressed every month to pay my rent. It was like the last week of every month, I was just like this gut this pain in my gut. Can I afford my bills this month? And it was distracting. It was taking up my glucose. It was wasting my time and my energy. And eventually I decided I'm going to live in my car. And I had no shower. I would wash my hands with rainwater, but the stress was gone. I had that for the first time in my life. I didn't worry about, can I survive this month? And also I was brainwashed, like, if I can't pay my rent, my life is over. But I would have lost access to my house and my shower. That stress is insane.
This is crazy. It's crazy to me that, you know, our great-grandparents, our great-great-grandparents, the struggles they went through to have a family, the things they did not have, no guarantees, just hardship. And today, it's harder than it was. Maybe today it's harder than it was, you know, 20, 15 or so years ago. We had this great economic boom under Clinton. I was a little kid, so I don't really know a whole lot about how that went for most people, but I've heard about it, you know, on TV. And I guess then you get the 2008 crisis. Now you get the pandemic crisis and the lockdowns, and people all of a sudden having their chairs pulled out from behind them and they're hitting the ground. It's a shock to a lot of people.
Mm-hmm. Well, getting back to Ian, rent was this constant source of angst, and I think that's true for a lot of Americans. But think about, I'm not saying your apartment in LA was a palace, but my guess is relative to most parts of history, it was a palace in terms of the amenities. And so one way to look at it is, yeah, we're worried about rent on spaces that in the past people would say, are you kidding me? You are living in a way that Rockefellers realistically could not live. Let's not forget that the first air conditioner was created for a Minneapolis Air in the 1930s. These were window units, massive. Not even window units weren't even ready. These cost anywhere from $10,000 to $50,000 in the 1930s. Now, if you see a window unit, it's in poor parts of town. Again, what the rich enjoy is always and everywhere a preview of what everyone will enjoy in freedom. So
not by
rent,
1930s dollars though, right? You're saying by today's dollars?
Oh, no. 1930s dollars. If you wanted to buy, it was a $10,000 to $50,000.
That's like the equivalent of like millions of dollars.
Precisely. That's why it was a Minneapolis Air.
Wow.
Who was buying the first air conditioner.
Like an heir to a fortune?
Yeah.
Could you imagine?
So,
like, you're this rich guy and you're like, check this out. It's 69 degrees in my penthouse.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
People would be like, wow. Mm-hmm. So you're not going to rip off all my sweat rags?
It'd be like if we walked in and they're like, it's all wireless power in here. There are no wires. Everyone can charge everything.
Your phone is charging as soon as you walk in the room.
Amazing.
That's like,
you'd be like, man, that's crazy.
I would pay a couple million for that
that's
to
so
be
cool.
the first, especially if you're a YouTuber, you can show the world.
Well, there's a statue to the guy who invented air conditioning in Miami.
Oh, is that so? Carrier is the most. Is it Willis Carrier? That's. Yeah.
I got to be honest.
But there should be because it built the South.
Mm-hmm.
I got to be honest. It's people told me this, and I'm pretty sure it's true. But
I've heard
when
that
when I heard that, because I lived in Miami for a little bit, I was like, get out of here! I don't believe you. And they're like, it's a statue of the guy who invented air conditioning because you could not live here without air conditioning. People don't get that. Now, it's remarkable. Every building, everywhere you go in Miami, you can see all of the condensation on the windows because everyone's inside in the summer, or they're at the beach. Miami Beach is pretty awesome, but they're inside for the most part with the air conditioning on blast.
You know how they say
Think about what that means, because in India right now, 10%, and that's a high number of New Delhi, is air conditioned. Families are physically ill because it's so hot, and you don't sleep. And so think about what it means that so much of America is air conditioned.
Well, to be fair, London isn't very air conditioned either.
Europe
No.
is not. Yeah.
I don't know what their deal is.
Yeah.
Hate going there.
It
Well-
doesn't get that hot.
In America, we have air conditioning.
That's right.
Civilized.
We're a different people.
A lot of people use kerosene as well in like African countries and things for light because they don't have electric light.
Well, they got
And-
gravity lights now. You ever see those?
Yes, I bought one of those. I love those.
Those are cool. We should get one. We should get it in here.
Okay.
You ever see a gravity light?
No.
It's a high ratio gear system, and you lift a rock up on a rope or string, and then over time the rock's weight pulls the gears, which spins, powering the light.
So cool.
And then once it goes all the way to the bottom, you just zip right back
like
up.
$60 for
Yeah.
one of those. Yeah,
Super cool.
But kerosene will kill people. There a lot of death from kerosene inhalation. So we're. What I wonder is, have we caused a population boom that is untenable? Like the white-tailed deer. They say you need to hunt white-tailed deer because they'll eat so much they'll grow out of control and then they'll destroy the ecosystem. Like if we have air conditioning and unlimited water and food, are we just going to overproduce and then eat ourselves to death? Is that
Okay,
No.
Thanos.
like,
Right.
is part of starvation part of keeping the human population level?
So what's the statistic? If you took the whole world's population right now and jammed them all into Texas, Texas would look like San Francisco. If you added Oklahoma to it, it would be the equivalent of putting 4 people per house with a yard in the house. We haven't come close to scratching the surface of the United States.
Not only that, I mean, Elon Musk is trying to go to Mars.
Yeah.
Not that I think Mars life is going to be I don't think we're going to have cities on Mars, and maybe we will, but they'll be biodomes. Essentially, they'll be enclosed, and we'll have to build inside structures to maintain the atmospheres and things like that. Maybe, but I think one thing people often overlook is that technology solves a lot of the problems of our day. So, are you familiar with the Great Poop Crisis, the manure crisis of New York City?
No.
I could be wrong about this, so you guys can fact check me. I want to make sure. But I was reading about how the turn of the century, 1800s, 1900s in New York, they were like, the manure crisis will destroy New York City because the horses are pooping everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
And the population density is so large. They were like, we predicted in 30 years there will be piles of manure on every street corner. And then the car got invented.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden, the horses were gone.
Kind of like carbon emissions.
Now the carbon emissions are happening, and this is what people say. We need to invent the next iteration of transport that solves for that problem. Well, you got Tesla on the rise. It's not perfect because electricity still generates, carbon in other areas. But, hydrogen cells or maybe some kind of solid state battery technology could greatly improve this. Maybe better. Maybe we eventually implement enough renewables in certain areas for charging certain vehicles. If we could offset a lot of our carbon emissions with renewables. But right now, we don't have the technology to just end carbon, fossil fuel technology. One of the problems we have with the left is they're saying, get rid of all fossil fuels outright right now. We can't do that. But we can use nuclear, wind, solar, geothermal, tidal, hydro dam stuff for certain bits that we could offset. And then we still have fossil fuels for the long-term stuff, for the winter stuff.
And we can reuse carbon emissions, too. Almost immediately, coming out of the smokestack, you can recapture it. And then
they could turn it into graphene.
Yeah, you can condense it.
Let's never forget that oil existed on this earth for obviously millennia, and no one knew that it had a capability. And so to Ian's point about that graphene, we haven't scratched the surface of discovering the different ways that the world around us can power us, can cure cancer, all sorts of things. And so technology is going to fix this. And the idea that the gas-powered car is the frontier of transportation ignores history. Let's not forget, in the 19th century, whale oil was the 5th largest industry in the United States. Things change. So a dynamic economy like ours, to presume that gasoline-powered cars are the frontier, no.
We just have to overcome the authoritarians. These central planners, these command economists. These are the people saying we should ban airplanes because it's bad for the planet. Could you imagine if we had all these horses pooping everywhere and they're like, ban travel, don't let people have horses because we're worried about what the horse manure will look like in 30 years. We're like, let us invent. Let humans invent. It's fascinating to me that that old quote from the head of the patent office where he's like, everything that can be invented has been invented in like 1899 or something. You've heard that before?
Yeah.
It's insane. We didn't even discover the electromagnetic spectrum at that point. Now it's like, man, if this guy even understood the electromagnetic spectrum as well as petrochemicals, man, plastics didn't exist. All of a sudden now, they used to have shotgun shells used to be big, thick brass cartridges. Now it's just plastic. They still use brass a little bit, but it's plastics replace a lot of things. The funny thing now is they're all screaming, oh, but plastics are destroying the planet. Well, now a couple things have happened. There's been developments in fungi and bacteria that can break down plastics and turn it into sugar. And we've also seen natural emergence of bacteria that eats plastic. Why? Because evolution. Life finds a way. I think there's a lot of pessimists who think the world is going to blow up and just like we're all going to die and we're doomed. And these people scare me because look, it's one thing, in my opinion, to talk about the political conflict with these people. That's what I'm scared of. I'm not scared of the apocalypse because I think humans are smart. I think humans invent, and every problem we've seen over the past, humans have done a really good job of adapting to it and developing technologies to avert certain things. However, the big problem is the lunatic ideologue authoritarians who don't want that and instead say, we must have my command central planning or effectively, fascism or communism. Then they tell people what they can or can't do. And then what happens? Chernobyl blows up. And you get the elephant's foot and people are dying and there's radioactive carbon particles all up in the air and everyone's freaking out. The command economists cause lots of problems.
I heard a conspiracy theory that the CIA was involved with blowing up Chernobyl.
I don't know.
Ever hear anything about
They're
that?
not smart enough, trust me.
Yeah. They were like, there's no way that was an accident. I don't know.
Thanks for checking out this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. If you want to see the full show, come back to this channel, youtube.com/TimcastIRL, Monday through Friday at 8 p.m., where you can leave comments and super chat, and we actually will read your comments on the show. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and if you want exclusive members-only content, segments you can't get anywhere else, go to timcast.com, become a member, and we even have full bonus episodes. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.